Have you ever stopped to think that the way you sleep each night could be affecting your risk of stroke? It's not a question most people ask themselves. Many of my patients pay close attention to what they eat, take their medications exactly as prescribed, and try to stay active. Those habits are certainly important. But there's one part of daily life that often gets overlooked, even though we spend nearly one-third of our lives doing it. That's sleep. The position you stay in for hours every night may seem like a small detail, but over time, it can matter more than many people realize. Some sleeping positions may place more strain on the body than others, while a few may better support your heart and brain as you rest. In today's video, we're going to walk through 5 of the most common sleeping positions, starting with the least concerning and working our way to the one that deserves the most attention. I'll explain why each one matters in a simple, practical way, without unnecessary medical jargon. Then, before we finish, I'll share the 2 sleeping positions that are generally considered the most supportive for heart and brain health. You may be surprised by which ones make the list, and one small change tonight could make you look at your bedtime routine in a completely different way. Let's begin with the sleeping position that ranks 5th on today's list. It may not be the most concerning, but it still surprises many people when they learn how it can affect the body over time. Sleeping completely flat on your back often feels comfortable. For many people, it's the position they naturally choose at the end of a long day. In most cases, it doesn't cause immediate problems. But for some older adults, especially those with a history of high blood pressure or poor circulation, staying in this position for several hours every night may not be the best choice. As we get older, the body doesn't always adjust to changes in pressure as easily as it once did. Remaining completely flat for an entire night may change the way pressure is distributed around the head and neck. These changes are usually subtle. You won't necessarily notice them while you're asleep. Instead, they may show up the next morning. Have you ever woken up with a heavy feeling in your head? Maybe you felt slightly dizzy when you first sat up, or unusually tired even after what seemed like a full night's sleep. Many people assume these are simply signs of getting older or not sleeping well enough. Sometimes that's true, but in some cases, the way you slept throughout the night may also play a role. The important thing to remember is that these changes don't happen all at once. They develop gradually, night after night, which is why they're so easy to overlook. When something becomes part of your routine, it's natural to stop questioning it. The good news is that this position is the least concerning one we'll discuss today. For many people, a small adjustment may be all that's needed. There's no reason to panic or assume you're doing something seriously wrong. The goal is simply to understand how your nightly habits may influence your overall health over time. And as you'll see in the next few positions, some sleeping habits may have a much greater impact than lying flat on your back. That's why I encourage you to stay with me. Each position builds on the last, and by the end of this countdown, you'll have a much clearer picture of which habits deserve the most attention. Truki any further, let's move to the 4th position on our list. This one often catches people by surprise because it feels perfectly comfortable. In fact, many people say they sleep best this way, and have done so for years without giving it a second thought. We're talking about sleeping on your right side. Now, I'm not saying that sleeping on your right side is automatically harmful. For many healthy adults, it may not cause any noticeable problems at all. But if you're an older adult living with heart disease, high blood pressure, or reduced circulation, this position deserves a closer look. To understand why, it helps to picture where your heart sits inside your chest. It isn't centered exactly in the middle. Because of its position, gravity can influence how the heart and surrounding blood vessels are supported while you're lying down. These changes are usually small, and your body is remarkably good at adapting to them. Still, in some people with existing cardiovascular conditions, even subtle changes over several hours of sleep may place a little more demand on the heart than other sleeping positions. Think of it this way. Imagine carrying a small grocery bag. Holding it for a few seconds doesn't seem like much. Even a few minutes isn't a problem. But if you carry that same bag for hours every single day, you eventually begin to notice the strain. Your sleeping position works in a similar way. One night is unlikely to make a meaningful difference. It's the habit repeated night after night, year after year, that may gradually have an effect. This is one reason many people don't connect their sleeping habits with the way they feel. The body changes slowly. There isn't a sudden warning sign that tells you something is wrong. Instead, the effects can build quietly over time before becoming noticeable enough to raise concern. I've had many patients tell me they slept on their right side for decades because it simply felt natural. They never questioned it because they woke up, went about their day, and assumed everything was fine. That's completely understandable. Most of us don't think about our sleeping position unless someone points it out. The goal here isn't to make you afraid of sleeping on your right side. It's simply to recognize that if you already have heart-related conditions or circulation problems, this is one of those small daily habits worth paying attention to. Sometimes even minor adjustments can become part of a healthier long-term routine. And while this position is important to understand, it's still not the one that concerns me the most. In fact, the next 3 positions on our list may have an even greater impact on your body while you sleep. So before deciding whether your own sleeping habits need to change, let's continue through the rest of the countdown. Now let's move to number 3 on our list. This one isn't just about the position you sleep in. It's about something many older adults do every single night without thinking twice. I'm talking about sleeping with a pillow that's too high, or stacking 2 or even 3 pillows under your head. At first, this often feels more comfortable. Many people say it helps them relax or makes it easier to fall asleep. After a while, it simply becomes part of their nightly routine. But comfort and proper support aren't always the same thing. When your head is lifted too high for several hours, your neck stays bent forward instead of resting in a more natural position. That also changes the alignment of your cervical spine, the part of your spine that supports your head and connects to the rest of your body. Because important blood vessels travel through this area on their way to the brain, keeping your neck in an awkward position throughout the night may place unnecessary stress on those surrounding structures. These changes are usually subtle. They don't suddenly wake you up in the middle of the night. More often, you notice them after you get out of bed. Maybe your neck feels stiff before it loosens up. Perhaps you wake up with a dull headache that fades later in the morning. Some people notice soreness across the shoulders. Others describe brief dizziness when they first stand up. Because these symptoms are so common, many simply assume they're another part of getting older. I've heard patients say things like, "I thought I just slept wrong," or "I figured it was my age." That's an understandable reaction. When symptoms appear gradually and disappear after a short time, they're easy to ignore. But sometimes it's worth taking a closer look at the simple habits that repeat every single night. The good news is that this is often one of the easiest habits to improve. In many cases, it starts with looking at how your head and neck are supported while you sleep. A small adjustment to your pillow height, or reducing the number of pillows you use, may help create a more natural position for your neck throughout the night. The goal isn't to chase the highest pillow or the softest one. It's to give your neck steady, comfortable support without forcing it into an unnatural angle for hours at a time. Again, there's no reason to assume you've been doing something seriously wrong. The purpose of this conversation is simply to help you recognize everyday habits that may deserve a little more attention, especially as we get older. And while this is certainly an important habit to think about, we still haven't reached the 2 positions that concern me the most. Those final 2 are the ones I encourage every older adult to understand, because they may have an even greater impact on your health over the long term. We're now down to the 2nd position on today's list. This is one of the most common sleeping positions, and it's also one that many people describe as the most comfortable. I'm talking about sleeping curled up on your side in what is often called the fetal position. If this is the way you sleep, don't be alarmed. Comfort is important, and there's a reason so many people naturally settle into this position. It can create a sense of security and relaxation, making it easier to fall asleep after a long day. But as I often tell my patients, feeling comfortable doesn't always mean a position is the best choice for your body over the course of an entire night. When your body stays tightly curled for several hours, your chest doesn't always have as much room to expand as it would in a more open position. Breathing still happens, of course, but your breathing pattern may not be quite as free or as relaxed. At the same time, your neck, shoulders, and upper back often remain slightly bent forward instead of resting in a more neutral alignment. The change may seem very small, but remember, your body stays in that position for many hours without a break. One night in this position is unlikely to make a noticeable difference. That's not what we're talking about today. The concern is what happens when the same posture is repeated night after night, year after year. Small changes that seem insignificant on their own can gradually become part of a larger pattern. This is something many older adults never think about because the body adapts so well. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly notice a dramatic change. Instead, your body slowly gets used to the position. That's why it's easy to assume everything is fine simply because nothing feels obviously wrong. I've had patients tell me they've slept this way for decades because it's the only position that feels natural. That's completely understandable. We all develop habits that become automatic over time. But every now and then, it's worth asking whether a familiar habit is still serving us as well as it once did. The purpose of this discussion isn't to convince you that you must stop sleeping in the fetal position. It's to help you understand that keeping the body tightly curled for many hours every night may place gentle but ongoing stress on breathing and posture. Over many years, those small effects may become more meaningful, especially for older adults who are already paying close attention to their heart and brain health. And now we've reached the point where this countdown becomes even more important. The final position on today's list stands apart from all the others. If there's one sleeping habit I encourage every older adult to understand before deciding whether to make any changes, it's the one we're about to discuss next. We've finally reached the number one position on today's list. If you've stayed with me this far, thank you, because this is the part I wanted you to hear before making any changes to your bedtime routine. What makes this final position different is that it isn't only about how you lie in bed. It's about the combination of your sleeping position and the habits that happen just before you fall asleep. When several small risk factors come together, they may have a much greater impact than any one of them alone. Many people focus only on finding a comfortable position. That's understandable, but your body doesn't suddenly stop working once you close your eyes. Throughout the night, your heart continues pumping. Your blood pressure naturally changes, and your circulation constantly adjusts while you sleep. Everything remains active, even though you aren't aware of it. Now think about what happens if you eat a large dinner shortly before bed, or if you have a few drinks in the evening and go to sleep soon afterward. Your body is already busy digesting food. Alcohol can also influence the way your body responds during the night. At the same time, your blood pressure follows its normal overnight pattern while your circulation continues adapting to the position you've been sleeping in for hours. Each of these factors may seem small on its own. Most people experience them occasionally without any obvious problems. But when several of them occur together on a regular basis, they may gradually place more stress on the cardiovascular system than many people realize. This is one reason many heart and brain events happen during the night or in the early morning hours. It isn't because sleep itself is dangerous. It's because your body is continuing to regulate blood flow, blood pressure, and many other important functions while you're asleep. If several unfavorable conditions are present at the same time, they may increase the overall strain on the body. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine someone finishes a heavy dinner late in the evening. They have a couple of alcoholic drinks while watching television. Soon afterward, they head straight to bed and remain in the same position for the rest of the night. Nothing about that evening seems unusual. In fact, it may look exactly like hundreds of evenings before it. Yet, each small habit adds another piece to the picture. Over months and years, that combination may become far more important than any single habit by itself. This is why I always encourage my patients to look at their evening routine as a whole instead of focusing on just one detail. Your sleeping position matters. The timing of dinner matters. Drinking alcohol before bed matters. The way your body naturally regulates blood pressure during the night also matters. None of these factors should be viewed in isolation because they all work together while you sleep. The encouraging news is that this also means you don't need one dramatic change to improve your nightly routine. Often, several small adjustments are more realistic and easier to maintain. Looking at when you eat dinner, being mindful about alcohol before bedtime, and paying attention to how you sleep can all become part of a healthier routine over time. Now that we've finished counting down the 5 positions, it's time for the part many of you have been waiting for. Instead of talking about what to avoid, let's focus on what you can do. In the next section, I'll share the 2 sleeping positions that are generally considered the most supportive for your heart and brain. along with a few simple ideas that may help you rest more comfortably and wake up feeling better. Now that we've gone through the 5 sleeping positions that deserve a closer look, let's end on a more encouraging note. This is the part many of you have been waiting for. Instead of talking about what to avoid, let's focus on 2 sleeping positions that are generally considered more supportive for your heart and brain. The first is sleeping on your left side. This position is often recommended because it may better support the way blood moves through the body during sleep. For some older adults, especially those already paying attention to their cardiovascular health, sleeping on the left side may simply allow the heart to work in a way that feels more natural throughout the night. While everyone is different, this position is often viewed as a comfortable and practical option for many people. There may also be another benefit. Some older adults experience occasional digestive discomfort or acid reflux after lying down. Sleeping on the left side may be more comfortable in those situations as well. That's one reason many people find themselves waking up feeling a little more refreshed after gradually getting used to this position. Of course, this doesn't mean you need to force yourself to stay on your left side all night long. Very few people remain in one position from bedtime until morning. Most of us naturally move several times while we sleep, and that's completely normal. The goal isn't perfection. It's simply to make your starting position one that may better support your overall health. The second position is sleeping on your back, with your upper body slightly elevated. Notice that I didn't say completely flat. A gentle elevation of the upper body can make an important difference for some people. The key is proper support, not height. Your head, neck, and upper back should remain in a comfortable, natural alignment, rather than being pushed too far forward. This is where choosing the right pillow becomes important. The pillow should support your head without forcing your chin toward your chest or bending your neck into an awkward angle. The purpose isn't to sleep higher. It's to create a position that feels relaxed while allowing you to breathe comfortably throughout the night. Many people assume that adding more pillows automatically provides better support, but that's not always the case. Sometimes, a single pillow that keeps your head and neck in a comfortable position is all that's needed. Small adjustments often work better than dramatic changes. As you've probably noticed throughout this video, there isn't one perfect sleeping position that works for every person. Our bodies are different. Our medical histories are different. What feels comfortable for one person may not be the best choice for someone else. That's why I never encourage patients to make sudden changes based only on one piece of information. Instead, think of this as a gradual process. If you'd like to try a different sleeping position, give your body time to adjust. Small, steady changes are usually much easier to maintain than trying to change everything overnight. Pay attention to how you feel when you wake up. Notice whether your sleep feels more restful and whether your mornings become more comfortable over time. The most important takeaway is this: your sleeping position is only one part of your overall health. It works together with your daily habits, your evening routine, and your existing medical conditions. Choosing a position that supports your body while making small adjustments when needed is often a simple step that can become part of a healthier routine for years to come. Now that we've talked about sleeping positions, there's one more piece of the puzzle that often gets overlooked. Even the best sleeping position won't provide its full benefit if the environment around you isn't helping you get quality rest. Many people spend time choosing the right position but rarely think about the room they sleep in. Small details like the temperature, the amount of light, the level of noise, and even the condition of your pillow or mattress can all influence how well you sleep from one night to the next. The good news is that improving your sleep environment doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. In many cases, a few simple adjustments are all it takes to make your bedroom feel more comfortable and supportive. Start by paying attention to the temperature in your room. If it's too warm or too cold, it may become harder to stay asleep through the night. A comfortable, consistent temperature often helps create a more restful sleeping environment. Next, take a look at the amount of light around you. Even small sources of light can make a difference for some people. A darker room often feels more relaxing and may make it easier to settle into sleep without unnecessary distractions. Noise is another factor that's easy to overlook. Some people become so accustomed to background sounds that they no longer notice them. Even so, reducing unnecessary noise whenever possible may help create a calmer atmosphere for sleep. Finally, think about your pillow. and your mattress. Earlier, we talked about how proper support for your head and neck matters. That support also depends on the condition of the pillow and the surface you're sleeping on. If either one is no longer providing comfortable support, it may be worth taking a closer look. The important message here is simple. Good sleep isn't determined by just one factor. Your sleeping position and your sleep environment work together. When both support your body, you're giving yourself a better opportunity to rest comfortably throughout the night. The encouraging part is that none of these changes require a major investment or a complete lifestyle overhaul. Small, practical adjustments made one step at a time are often the easiest to maintain, and over time, they can become part of a healthier nightly routine. Before we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with one more practical suggestion. No matter which sleeping position you choose, it's helpful to pay attention to how your body responds over time. Sometimes the simplest observations can tell you more than you expect. Start by noticing how you feel when you wake up in the morning. Do you feel rested, or do you often wake up with a stiff neck, a dull headache, or unusual fatigue? These small details may help you recognize patterns that are easy to miss when every day feels the same. Some people also find it useful to keep a simple record of their sleeping habits. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. Just making a few notes about how you slept and how you felt the next morning can help you see gradual changes over time. If you already use a health tracking device, it may provide additional information about your sleep. Some people find these tools helpful for following general trends and becoming more aware of their nightly routine. They can be a useful source of information, but they should always be viewed as a guide rather than a diagnosis. Most importantly, remember that no app, smartwatch, or home monitoring device can replace proper medical care. If you notice unusual symptoms, persistent changes, or anything that concerns you, it's important to discuss those findings with your healthcare provider. These tools are designed to support your awareness, not to take the place of a medical evaluation. The goal is simply to become a little more familiar with your own sleep. The more you understand your nightly habits, the better prepared you'll be to make thoughtful, informed decisions about your health. As we come to the end of today's video, I'd like to leave you with one simple thought. You don't have to change everything tonight. In fact, trying to change too much at once often makes new habits harder to maintain. Instead, choose just one small adjustment. It might be changing the way you position your pillow, trying a different sleeping position, or making a small change to your evening routine. Then give your body time to adapt. Over the next few weeks, pay attention to how you feel when you wake up each morning. Sometimes, the smallest changes are the ones that make the biggest difference over time. I'd also love to hear about your experience. If you decide to try one of these ideas, let us know how it goes. Your story may encourage someone else who is working toward healthier sleep habits. Most importantly, keep learning about your heart and brain health. Good health is rarely the result of one perfect decision. It's built through small, consistent choices that become part of everyday life. And remember, the goal isn't to find one perfect sleeping position. The real goal is to build habits that help support your heart, protect your brain, and give your body the best chance to rest well for years to come. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.